Hey everybody, I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about how Gen X will face retirement. And maybe more importantly, should we retire? We're all getting up there in age now, and that's something that's on our horizon or not, possibly, depending on where you sit on the financial spectrum. But I have some experience in this area. And I'd like to relate that to you. I worked in an area here in Florida called The Villages, and we have a lot of these retirement communities down here in Florida. But The Villages is in my area anyway, is kind of like the upper crust of the retirement areas. That's where the more affluent people go to retire. So, they've got quite a bit of money in there. But I worked in there pretty much solely for 8 or 10 years, something like that. So I've dealt with these people a lot, and I saw them and interacted with them quite a bit during their daily lives, because I'd go in there for the company I worked for and remodel their kitchen, say, and I'd be in their house, 8 hours a day for 4, 5, 6 days sometimes. So I had a unique opportunity to observe these people in their retirement, and they had money. They weren't struggling at all. I mean, they could just dump 25 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand on a new kitchen if they wanted to. They had that opportunity. They had that ability to do that, and it didn't affect their lives. And in saying that, with that knowledge of how these people acted and being around them so much, I have been through the thing in my head where I was concerned with retirement. I wanted to be able to retire. I didn't want to have to work, into my old age. But now I've been kind of changing my mind on that after witnessing these people in the villages and how they behave and witness their lives, because a lot of it is, it really seems like a lot of these older people in these retirement communities are just waiting to die. They go out and play golf and knock the ball around with a stick for a while. And I play golf. Don't get me wrong. Golf's a good game. I'm not hacking on golf. I'm just saying that's what it is. You take a stick out there and you hit the ball in a hole. So, or, just drink their asses off every day or whatever they're into, some pickleball or whatever, and you go smack a ball around. And other than that, you're just watching the clock tick down on your existence. And I have really come to believe that that's not the way I want to go out. I don't want to go out just waiting to die. That just doesn't seem good to me. And I've said it before in episodes in the past about, human beings are meant to struggle. That's kind of what defines our life. It's what it gives our lives meaning. Without that struggle, then what are we? We're just waiting to die. And I saw a thing about this guy who had just sold his business. He was a watch manufacturer or something. I didn't get involved in it in too much detail, but he got millions of dollars for selling his business, and he thought that was going to be it. He could just relax for the rest of his life and take it easy, and he had reached it. He had reached the goal when he sold that business, and he very quickly found out that life sucked. Life actually sucked, just sitting around with nothing to do and nothing to worry about, no struggle, no strife, just boredom. He was just waiting to die at the age of 30 or whatever it was, And it's the same thing. So without that struggle, then, it's a really boring existence. And I've said that before. Everybody's struggling, trying to reach this nirvana, right? This where we don't have to pay bills and where we don't have to strive for anything. You just sit on your couch and flick through streaming channels and don't worry about anything. That's it. Get something to eat when you want. But that kind of existence is boring and monotonous. It sucks. There's only so many shows you can watch or whatever, So I have kind of come to terms with the idea that I might just work until the end. It's not that big a deal now to me. It's not some kind of horrifying fate that I dread as I look into the future now. It's not that. I've kind of wrapped my mind around the idea, and maybe it's for the best. Maybe it'll the activity, the physical activity will keep me healthy. Maybe the mental activity will keep me sane and keep me interested in life. And I don't have to necessarily do something physical. I can do something online. I can find some kind of side hustle or some kind of thing to do online where I don't have to physically punish myself in my old age to make a living, So that's kind of where I'm at now with that. And for those of you who do plan on retiring, that's just something to think about, that monotony, that lack of something to live for. It's hard. Golf is fun, but it's hard to live for that unless you are a real golf fanatic, and some people are, and more power to them. That's great. Maybe that's the right way to go. Become a fanatic about some sport like that. I don't know, but even if we do retire, say I get a windfall and I do retire, I realize that I'm going to have something in my life that is meaningful. Unless I really just want to wait around to die, if that's a goal of, a goal that somebody wants to accomplish, I just want to wait around to die. Maybe that's your goal. Maybe that will make you happy. I don't know. To each their own. But in my case, I really don't want to do that. That does not sound like a good idea to me. That doesn't sound like an enjoyable life. And having the experience of watching the villagers do that, live a life like that, it's not for me. I've seen it. It doesn't look like fun. It does not look interesting at all. It just looks, kind of sad, actually, when you go in there and you see old couple after old couple, and dozens and hundreds of old couples over the years, and they're just there. They're not part of the world. They're in this isolated little community. I'm sure online they're arguing on Twitter or whatever, but other than that, they're just waiting for the end. And that's just not what I want for myself, And again, these are people with money. I mean, you got to have millions of dollars to live there. Not Elon Musk and Bill Gates money, but you got to have a couple $1,000,000 at least. You got to be well off to live in there. So that just demonstrates to me that money isn't everything. Money is not buying happiness. Money isn't, giving them purpose in life. They had purpose in life back when they were earning that money. But once they have attained it, they're just whiling away their hours on this planet with trivial pursuits like golf and pickleball and whatever little thing they take up. And I don't know. It just doesn't seem like an interesting way to go out to me. I'd rather, go out being mauled by a grizzly bear or something, or fighting in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. I don't want to just be sitting around here watching Gen Z rage on the internet and biding my time until my last breath. That's for damn sure. And I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member of Gen X Thinks, I'll leave that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can do so by clicking on that super thanks button down there. Or you can head over to Buy Me a Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. I appreciate those of you who do that. Thank you very much. If you're interested in Gen X gear, we got some pretty cool stuff over there at Redbubble. Gen X Thinks and Gen X branded stuff, t-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, all kinds of cool stuff like that. But I'll leave that link down in the description for those of you who are interested. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out a hell of a lot, so thank you very much to those of you who do that. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. If you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments, or you can email us, and the email is genxthinks@gmail.com. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.